inside the dailies also to start off your weekend. Also, there is a business daily with the BD Live and Weekend Extra. Right. Just to remind you, our hashtag this morning, Moments of Fame. What will you do if you're given 15 minutes on the stage? Moments of Fame. What would you say? Right? That is what is trending this morning. Remember, our Twitter handle is AM Live NTV. Hit us and follow us there. AM Live NTV is our profile name on Facebook, and 20505 is our SMS portal. Moment of Fame. What will you do with it? Right. We now step into our conversation, our current affairs conversation, and every Friday we have something light for you to just give you a good cheering start for the day, a pick-me-up conversation, and I have with me Dr. Wale Akinyemi. We're talking about overcoming pressure. You know, life has a way of throwing curveballs along our pathways, but how do we handle that? The navigating of the choppy waters of life, the pressure that it exerts on us. Do you have enough resilience and fortitude? You know, life has that wily way of making us, you know, be thrown out of kilter a bit. But do you have the gumption to go through with life? So the lassitude and vicissitude of lives can make us break or make us strong. But we have to know how to navigate this. Dr. Wale Akinyemi.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Interesting, right? Welcome.
Thank you.
It's always a treat to have you Fridays here on AM Live to talk to us every last Friday of the month, actually. Yes. Right. You wrote a very interesting article about overcoming pressure. And it's a fact. Life, it's all about pressure. We have financial pressure. We have relational pressure. Yeah. We have spiritual pressure that you need to grow spiritually as well. But you say we should be shifting our thinking from reacting to responding.
Yes.
Let's start from there.
Okay.
Right?
All right. What makes pressure pressure? Let's look at those two words, react and respond. They sound alike, but they're totally different. When you hear somebody is reacting to medication, that's negative.
That's negative.
But if you hear that they're responding, that's positive. All right? So in the same way, what makes pressure pressure is the fact that we're not prepared for it. And it gets the better of us. And so we need to have a mindset, just like you have said, stuff happens, pressure comes. All right? But we need to have a mindset that prepares us. I am not saying begin to think of all the bad things that can happen. No. But what I'm saying is that you need to build an internal capacity in the day of peace so that when the pressure comes, you have enough reserve to deal with it. Let me give you an example. I think I wrote about that today. One day I was in America and I was driving from a place called Sacramento, California, and I was driving in the northwest to Seattle, Washington. And I noticed that when there were hills, really long hills, deep hills, at the end, there was a diversion, and it just went into a sand pit. And I wondered, I said, what is that? I discovered when trucks are coming down that hill, if their brakes fail, they have a soft landing. They can veer off into that diversion so they do not hit other cars or they do not roll over the cliff. There was a diversion. And it's very important for us to create those things. You see, I think when I was here last time, I said, so many people are too busy making a living, they forget to live. And what is going to help us in the time of pressure are those sand pits we have created in the time of peace, when everything is okay. For instance, I go through, you know, we all go through these things. But one of the things that really helps me is that I have created memories when things were okay. All right? You know, another thing about people they don't smile. People, you look around, people are looking so serious, you know? And I read somewhere that the more you frown, the more likely you are to have wrinkles when you grow older, you know? And you see, that is it. People are carrying this pressure with them. But if you can create these avenues when things are okay. I mean, like I was watching Kobe and Cher earlier on today, you guys, there's a lot of fun. create fun moments. Enjoy yourself when you can. That's one way, so that when you are going through pressure, you have some memories to fall back on. That's one way. Then another way to go about it is to project your mind forward. And that means, I remember maybe I'm preparing for a big event or so, and there's a lot of pressure. I project my mind to the day after. You know, the day after, and I focus on my expectations. You know, it's like you look at David and Goliath.
Yes.
David could have focused on the bigness of Goliath, and that would have gotten him. But what did he focus on? He focused on the lion and the bear, his past successes, and he drew strength and motivation from them. And
yeah, but you know, also they say that sometimes we're very busy trying to create maybe a soft landing for the rainy day, that we forget to enjoy the sunny day.
That's a very good one. But you see, the thing is, when we're creating that soft landing, it's not as if we're putting all our focus on that. All right? It is just that it's part of my life. We need to get to a point where it is not creating that soft landing. It's not now something we focus all our attention on. It is just part of our living. For instance, I don't have to think about, I want to have a good time. What are the things that give you a good time? Another thing that I saw, there's a friend of mine, absolutely inspiring girl. And what she does is, I learned a lot from that. She took up running. Okay?
Yes.
And she runs like 20 kilometers, you know, and really inspires me. And I understood exactly what was happening psychologically. And we need to learn how to do that. She was creating pressure for herself, okay, that was deliberate. Now, what that does is that it puts your mind in a place where, when the pressure you're not expecting shows up, your mind has already been programmed to deal with it. For instance, let me give an example. A mosquito is biting you here. A snake is biting you there on your foot. Which one will you focus on?
I'm still thinking.
Well, I believe most people will focus on the snake. Yeah? That's what I'm saying. We need to learn how to embark on things that make a demand on us, okay? Make a demand on us. What you're doing, you're creating some pressure, okay, for yourself. You are simulating the snake. Now, when you have simulated the snake, then the mosquito, when the mosquito comes, it doesn't throw you off balance.
Yes.
Because you have already simulated the snake. And so that's why I always believe, I take people on a trip into the wild sometimes, just to bring out the wild in them and to take them through some enduring scenarios and build that pressure, so that when the pressures of life come in, you're psychologically prepared for it. What makes pressure many times is that we're not prepared for it.
We're not prepared for it.
Yes.
Well, that is life.
That is life.
That is life. We can never be fully prepared. But is pressure necessarily bad? Because we use pressure in a lot of things. Maybe to get also the diamond in the rough, we will have to use pressure for it to be sparkling. So is pressure bad for you? Because also in your article you say you can know the true sense of a person and the character of a person in the forging and in that crucible of affliction, in that crucible of pressure, isn't it? That is when you know a person's resilience and fortitude. Talk to us about this.
You know, there are two things that reveal who a person is. One is success, and the second is failure or pressure. And both of them have pressure. There's the pressure of success. Yes. You've been asking about moments of fame. There's the pressure of that, okay? And then there's the pressure of it's not working, okay? And what that does, it actually brings out the real person. As an employer, I always say sometimes it's good to just expose your team around you to some pressure, you know, because it then brings out what is inside. There's a story I read, you know, that Jesus took the bread, he blessed, he broke, and multiplied. You know, and I see that as a sequence that happens in the lives of many people. You go through a period, there seems to be a blessing, and then you go through a period, there seems to be a breaking. Now, but the breaking is not an end. The only reason the break-in came was because the multiplication was going to come. All right? But what happens in the time of break-in really is that also your relationships are sifted. There are some people that can handle you when things are good, that cannot handle you when you're going through pressure. And you don't want those kind of people around you when you now go into the phase of multiplication. You don't want them because they become dead weights. So pressure is good. It reveals what is inside you. It reveals the areas you need to work harder on. All right, and build yourself. I think I wrote some time ago about the day my daughter decided to take me through a Roomba class, you know, and we started, and everything was okay for the first 4 minutes. And then after, the girl was going on, and I was panting and breathing, and that was the day I realized I was not too healthy.
Roomba or Zumba?
Zumba, one of them, one of the bars. I don't remember exactly which one, but it was very exerting.
All right. Okay.
You know.
All right. I'd love us to build our thoughts on 3 areas, that we can peg our thoughts on. And we have maybe the financial pressure, and then we have the societal pressure that comes with the expectation, and also we have the relational pressures. We start with the financial pressure,
okay,
right? Because I think even most Kenyans and most people in the world, it's a fact that financially we all aspire to get more and more. We can never really satiate that urge that is within us to have more money in life. And how then do we try and also navigate through these areas of finances? Because we don't seem sometimes to really get it right. We have our day of peace when we can make enough margin and to create a soft landing so that in the days of adversities and pressure, we are able to be composed and, you know, reposed and relaxed because we have been building capacity all along the way. How do you get to create a margin and a soft landing during the days of what you call the peace? Yes, financial peace.
Now, financial pressure comes in different ways. It could be that, let me use myself as an example because I've been there. I've told you before, I was so poor, even poor people called me poor. Now, that's a bad place to be because I had no money and I had no money coming from anywhere. Okay? That's one level. The other level is you have money, but your money is stranded or trapped in people that have not paid you or things like that. That's another. Now, but one way that I kept myself going, especially when there was no money and there was no money coming from anywhere, was, and this is the thing about capacity. You see, this is a mug. When you look at this mug, you ask yourself, what is this? It's a mug. Now you can ask, how many things can you bring out of this? Okay? And I think that's the big question. You see, there's convergent thinking, where 2 + 2 = 4. There is one answer. And then there's divergent thinking. How many uses can you put this to? Where there is no specific answer. Now, our educational system prepares people for convergent thinking. Because when we go to school, it is whatever the teacher tells us. What makes you a good student is that you can reproduce it and give it back to the teacher just like the teacher gave it to you. That makes you a good student in school. But the reality is, what makes you a good student in school makes you a bad student of life. Because if your brain has been programmed for convergency, that means one answer. That means you do not have, your brain does not think of options. So when you are faced with something that has no definite answer, you will not come up with many answers because you have been trained for convergency. Now, the educational systems in a lot of African countries has prepared people for convergency. And so that is why you will find out many people who are good students in school, all right, and I mean, I am a very firm, solid advocate of education. But a lot of people who are first-class students in school end up working for maybe somebody who never went to school or somebody who didn't do well in school. Why? Because in the real world, what will get you through is not thinking within the box of convergence. It is having a divergent way of thinking that what I am seeing and what I am looking at, there must be a difference. If all I can see is what I am looking at, then I'm in trouble, and that is convergence. Now, how do I tie this up to this, to what we're talking about? When I was going through financial crisis, I was seeing that. I mean, I was looking at my financial situation, but I was seeing beyond that. Why? Divergent thinking. So that is the place. In fact, some of my greatest ideas that have taken me forward were birthed in the times of intense pressure, because then my thinking is expanded. Why do people give up in life? It's because there is no difference between what they are looking at and what they are seeing. So you can look at this table. Nothing is in its final state, really. Everything around us, nothing is in a final state. You can smash this down, recycle it into something else. All right. So even financially, we need to make sure that when we look at our financial state, what we are seeing must be more than what we are looking at. A lot of great businesses were built during the Great Depression. KFC, HP, a lot of great businesses during the Great Depression. Why? Because most people are prisoners of convergence. So they only see what they're looking at. And that is one very important way. So it was during the hard financial times. I wrote books. I developed training curriculum. I analyzed. I read a lot of books. And what did that do? It brought me out of it.
Right. All right. We really stopped for time, and I'll allow us not to gravitate towards the 2 points that we raised. To pick our thoughts on, we have also the societal pressure, the expectation from the society. You know, maybe also you're getting up in years and they want you to get married. You know, going at home, parents, your friends, you see, and you're wondering, hey, how do I navigate through this pressure? And there's so many people who can allude to this, who are watching us this morning, and they're wondering, yes, there's so much pressure. You feel locked out sometimes. How do you also navigate through the societal pressure that only not comes from marriage, you getting married, but also from expectations? Your friends are making it. You went to the same class, the same school. Yeah, right now they're all doing fine. And you seem maybe to be skirting around the same area.
All right.
How do you go about that as well?
Okay, first of all, we have a proverb in Nigeria that basically says, don't look at somebody else's watch to tell your time. If you look at my watch, I'm always setting my watch 15 minutes ahead.
It's a nice phrase. I like it.
I always set my watch 15 minutes ahead. Now, that means if you have a 7 o'clock appointment,
yes,
and you look at my watch to be able to know what time it is, you will be under pressure, because my watch will say 7:15. All right? And or my watch will say 6:45 when it's just 6:30. Okay? So never look at somebody else's watch. You don't know their story. People look at us and they think we just landed. They don't know the story. Don't know the days when if the price of a sausage was 1 shilling cheaper, it was a breakthrough for me. I will testify. You know? People don't know that. But in terms of societal pressure, it is very important. And we went through it. My wife always tells a story of how before we got married, anytime her mother went for a wedding, her mom would come back with a piece of the wedding cake and would call her and pray that just the same way we have gone to eat somebody else's cake, you know, people will eat your own cake. I mean, pressure. But at the end of the day, I went through that too. And one day, I had to come up and I said, look, you know, because I was going through pressure financially, the expectations, I'm the firstborn, people are expecting things. And I had to tell my family members sometimes, some of my people, I said, would you prefer for me to do something crooked and you see me on TV and they say he has been arraigned for defrauding somebody or doing that? Or would you prefer that I go at a good pace? I'm not saying be slow. I go at a good pace, but I get to that point and I can account for everything that I have. I think that kept them quiet a bit. So in terms of dealing with the societal pressure, the important thing, and I think you had Dr. Miles here last week, is to know what are you supposed to be doing. A lot of people, pressure comes because they are doing something they have no business doing. I see the ball is on TV, and then I want to walk my way on TV and all that. Meanwhile, that's not what I'm supposed to do. Remember, in the battle between the lion and the shark, the terrain will determine the outcome. If the lion gets the shark on dry land, the shark becomes a victim not because it is weak, but it's in the wrong terrain. If the shark gets the lion in water, the lion becomes a victim not because it is weak. So one of the first ways to deal with societal pressure is to understand where you are supposed to be. And once you have located your purpose, where you are supposed to be, then any pressure that comes within the context of purpose, you can deal with. But the problem happens if you are doing something you are not called to do, you're not supposed to be doing that, you're doing it because somebody else is doing it, you're not wired for that. Listen, when I go to speak, I don't have a sleepless night because I'm going to speak. Sometimes I could be in the car and I ask my assistant or ask the GM, I say, what am I speaking about today? You know, and they tell me, and I say, okay. And because I'm wired for that. Not everybody is wired for that. So find the place you're wired for, and then even when pressure comes within the context of that, you're cool. I go through a lot of pressure, but you know what? I've looked at it in the right context. I am doing what I'm supposed to do. I am where I'm supposed to be. If you are not doing what you're supposed to do, you see, drug abuse is an abnormal use of drugs. Life abuse is an abnormal use of your life, where you are doing what you are not wired to do, what you are not supposed to do. Yeah.
Dr. Wale Akinyemi, thank you so very much. We are strapped for time, but we can keep on with this conversation.
Yeah.
I know our viewers also will love us to continue, but we will continue next time on that particular terrain, on finding your terrain and your sweet spot in life. It's very important so that you operate within your terrain. Yes, we've been speaking about overcoming pressure. You know, life has a way of handing you unfair cards, but how do you deal with them? And Dr. Wale has been telling us how we can overcome pressures that come away in life. Christopher Morley says that life is a foreign language. We all mispronounce it. Right, we take a short break right now. See you on the other side of a break.
You're watching AM Live, proudly brought to you by Brighter Monday.